Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Well, we're about ready to start. First of all, apologies to all of you for the late start. But right now, this one coming in. Can you please just stand for us? We then take us. To our honorable guests, honorable colleagues and Zoho, MB Minister of Green Economy and Environment, Honorable Elias Banga MP, and Minister of Small and Medium Enterprises, Development, and Dr. Mr. Antonio Maggiore, Ambassador of Italy to Zambia, distinguished speakers, Captain and Kings of Industry, Zambia, Italy, distinguished audience. Let me just try and look a little bit more human in spite of the COVID environment. First of all, apologies once again to all of you for starting late. We'll try and see how I can catch up on time. You will recall that once upon a time, exporters around the world knew the art of managing resources sustainably. And this was the case whether they were in Arctic, in the middle of the planet, where it is very hot, humid in the tropics, or down south in the various temperate zones, the steppes, the grasslands, the savanna, and so forth. Each and every one of them, whether they're living in desert areas or in any places which were country and well-resourced, knew how to the art of managing the resources sustainably. Currently, humankind has lost the art, and our gathering together this week is a celebration of the art of putting back into the mind of the people the art of managing resources sustainably. We have a range of speakers who will speak to us, and we're very blessed this morning to have not one, but two ministries presenting us from a new government, from a new ministry, new members of parliament. Therefore, all things new will be a real help to all of us. Shall we give them a big hand? And congratulations to the ministers for accepting to lead this country, and especially for the green economy and the small-scale sector. Without much ado, therefore, the program is before you, so I'll dispense to tell you what is happening because you already know. Allow me to call upon Mr. Antonio to start the proceedings for us. He will speak to us and introduce the speakers afterwards. Let's give him a big hand to motivate him.
Thank you, MC. Good morning to everybody. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment, Honorable Collins Ndogo, MP, and the Honorable Minister for Small and Medium Enterprises, Honorable Elias Mbanga, MP. Thank you very much to both of you, Honorable Ministers, for being with us today with this important event we conceived to have with you, with the new government of Zambia. And it's not by coincidence that the first workshop, the first event that we organized with the new Zambian government led by His Excellency President Chilema is with the two ministers that we have here today, the Minister of Green Economy and the Minister for Small and Medium Enterprises. I think, and I would really like to commend this choice, these new ministries, these new administrations are very important to pursue the objectives of economic growth for Zambia. And that's why we invited both honorable ministers to be with us today. Today, we will talk about natural resources. And we decided to have this title, which is The Art of Managing Resources, because with an innovative approach, we want to combine economy and also arts. And it's a very innovative approach, and many could wonder why we thought about this. Well, let me start by sharing with you our idea, our concept. Green economy, small and medium enterprises have in common with arts the important role of creativity. When a businessman, businesswomen come up with ideas to create a business, they do it with their mind, with their creativity. And in that, to that purpose, art plays a very important role because art is about creativity. And artists have the role to share with us their views about the problems that we encounter in our life or what we can envisage for our future. So we believe that combining, as I said, economy and art is a very important positive dynamic that can develop new energies, especially, and I would like to come to the focus of our workshop, especially as far as the green economy is concerned. Green economy is one of the pillars for the European Union strategy to develop partnership with Africa. And in this framework, Zambia has a key role because Zambia is very rich in natural resources, and with this can build together with the European Union a very important partnership on a green economy. So this is one of the key points. The other, and of course, all this is at the center of our, Italy is ready to play its role into this purpose, a very prominent role, because Italy this year has the chairmanship of the G20, where we put at the center of our presidency people, planet, and prosperity, and also the subject of climate change and environment at the center of the COP26 that will take place in November in Glasgow, and Italy as the co-chairmanship together with the UK. So, as I said, G20, COP26, EU, we all share these important priorities that we are discussing today. Priorities that I would like to underline. The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs of Zambia discussed just last week in Italy, attending the Italian conference with African countries. So all this to introduce our discussions, and we will also have a special angle towards small and medium enterprises. So if you see our program, we will have this morning 2 interventions of 2 Italian small and medium enterprises, Contarina SPA e Idrostudi SRL. These are small and medium enterprises that prove to be very successful in business. And this is why, again, thank you, Honorable Mubanga, for being with us. This is another part that we want to share with Zambia. Zambia has incredible potentials to develop small and medium enterprises. And Italy can share the success story of our small and medium enterprises. Let me just share some figures with you. Italy has 160,000 small and medium enterprises that employ 4 million people and create 12% of our total GDP, equal to 250 million US dollar, and contributing to 40% of our export. So as you can see, the small and medium enterprises are the backbone of the Italian economy. And I think that it is a very important vision of the Zambian government to see how building and increasing the number of small and medium enterprises will be of pivotal importance to create sustainable growth, to create new jobs, and also to do all this in a way that is compatible with the environment. So I think this combination is very inspiring, and that's what we will discuss today. Let me just say that in the afternoon, we will have a session with our artists, with the curator of the exhibition that we opened today. And I would like to invite all Zambian friends to come to the Zambian Italian Cultural Center to visit this beautiful exhibition. We have art pieces of the Zambian artists. We have one art piece of the Italian artist Matteo Montani, who will be with us in the afternoon. So I invite everybody to come and see this this exhibition. The curator, William Nico, who is with us, will explain the concept of this exhibition. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for being here. I'm very happy to see many people here at the ZIC and many people online with us. So this is what I wanted to share with you. Now it's my privilege and my pleasure to invite the Honorable Minister Collins Nzogu to join us for his speech here at the podium. Honorable Minister.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This should be a live event, and I only see such persons who should be happy that we are going to do a good partnership. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Minister of Small and Medium Enterprises, Honorable Mbanga, Your Excellency, the Ambassador of Italy to Zambia, Mr. Antonio Maggiore, the private sector representatives present, various government officials present here, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor and privilege to be accorded an opportunity to deliver some remarks on a new approach of the Zambian government to green economy and development at the forum entitled Art of Managing Resources, Land, Forests, Water, Pathways of Cooperation between Italy and Zambia. Let me begin by thanking the Italian Embassy for the initiative of organizing this forum, whose objective on forest conservation and the green economy. In the same way, I wish to recognize and appreciate the Italian government for the continued support to my government in nature resource conservation, particularly in reducing emissions from the deforestation and forest degradation. Currently, the Italian government is implementing a memorandum of understanding worth 2 million euros with my government in the field of climate change, vulnerability, risk assessment, adaptation, and mitigation. My government is deeply indebted and grateful to the Italian government for this support. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, allow me to focus on the new approach of the Zambian government to green economy and development. The new joint government of the United Party for National Development is committed and attaches great importance to developing a green economy that will ensure sustainable development. The creation of my ministry, the Minister of Green Economy and Environment, underscores the premium that this government has placed on matters of environmental sustainability, sustainable natural resources management, including a special focus on climate change related matters. Additionally, His Excellency the President provided policy guidance emphasizing the implementation of measures on the green economy in his opening remarks to the first session of the 15th National Assembly, as well as his address to the 17th session of the United Nations General Assembly. In addition, this year 2021, the government updated and submitted to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change the nationally determined contribution to the Paris Agreement. The updated NDCs has broadened the scope of sectors under mitigation by adding transport, liquid waste, as well as coal. Further, the adaptation component on the NDC has been elaborated further by developing indicators that will enable the country to track progress on building resilience in both the human and physical systems and on adaptation actions. You may also be aware that Zambia's 8th National Development Plan, which is currently under development and will be implemented in the period 2022 to 2026, has as one of the 4 pillars environmental sustainability. From a policy perspective, you can see that the new government is committed to greening the economy and ensuring a low carbon development trajectory. Ladies and gentlemen, specific approaches of interventions that my government will pursue to attain a green economy include the following. Number 1, mainstreaming of green growth. My government will mainstream green growth in plans, policies, and programs at national and sub-national levels. This will ensure that the green growth agenda will take center stage in everything we do at all levels. In this regard, we'll also make a business case for green activities so as to attract innovators, entrepreneurs, and financiers and unlock the potential for green investments. To actualize this aspiration, we'll develop a green growth strategy and accompanying mainstreaming guidelines. Number 2, quantification of natural resources. For improved policy decision-making on the utilization of natural resources, government will embark on the generation and updating of data on the stocks and flows of natural resources such as land, forests, wildlife and tourism, as well as water. Let me hasten to mention that this is already underway through the work and supported both accounting and the evaluation of ecosystem services. The program which is supporting Zambia to develop the state natural capital accounts. Number 3, sustainable forest management. I must hasten to add that this intervention, this specific intervention by my government is a very, very interesting intervention because forestry, deforestation is one factor which is contributing greatly to green gas emissions. So we desire that our forests are sustainably managed so that they continue providing livelihoods and environmental services, not only for this generation, but also for generations to come. This will be achieved by promoting and implementing community forest management, including natural source regeneration at various levels, even at farm level. Let me pause here and emphasize that we want and will make sure that our people benefit from sustainable management of natural resources, including through carbon credits, through carbon credits. So any organization working with our communities and accruing carbon credits must ensure that full disclosure and transparency on benefit sharing mechanisms are disclosed. Madam Ambassador Majori, I was therefore very, very excited when I came in here to meet one of the partners from the private sector who is really speaking to one of the aspirations my government wants to achieve. Number 5, on renewable energy. Currently, only 8% of our rural population has access to electricity. Only 8%, which has slowed down the pace of development in rural areas. As a government, we are concerned and want to change this by promoting renewable energy solutions, including solar, wind, and biogas. Government will therefore also promote the development of off-grid mini hydropower plants to accelerate access to electricity in rural areas. I must emphasize here that this is an action we are pursuing very actively, so it was also gratifying to meet one of the partners from the private sector who really speaks to the achievement of this aspiration. Number 5, we also want to have clean and improved cooking solutions. Charcoal burning, deforestation are really factors, negative factors we are looking at reducing. So therefore, clean and improved cooking solutions will be highly promoted. So our deforestation rate, as you may be aware, is one of the highest in Africa, if not the highest in Africa. It's also very high in the world, but number 1, deforestation. This is not a good achievement. This is not a plus. The fact that we are speaking to you and speaking about forest management is because we want to ensure that we come out of the back bandwagon where we are labeled as the biggest forest. We are already doing something about it, and we are glad to inform you that very soon we'll be out of these brackets. The various interventions, including clean cooking, renewable energies, are measures my government is putting in place to ensure that we arrest this code. Number 6, we want to look at sustainable agriculture. So government will provide sustainable agriculture practices such as intensive agriculture, minimum tillage and residue retention, agroforestry, diversification of crops and crop rotation, as well as promotion of drought-resistant small ruminants such as goats, sheep, and pigs. All of these interventions are to ensure that our people benefit from agriculture practices, benefit from growing different crops, benefit from the agriculture sector, other than benefiting from charcoal trading, which leads to deforestation. So the government intends to promote high payrolls of farmer produce that is organically grown, or using smart practices by developing regulations that make the farmers dive into these practices without competing with those doing it unsustainably. Green industries development, that's number 7, will prioritize creating an enabling environment for the growth of green industries, particularly in rural areas, by promoting the micro, small and medium enterprises. So it's gratifying to see the minister here with us, because we want to support this sector with green growth, with green finance. Additionally, we promote the circular economy by fostering the reduction, recycling, and reusing of materials. I think one of our pillars we want to really support is to ensure efficiency in the use of materials. Any waste, we must reuse. Waste management, we intend to work with relevant stakeholders, including government ministries and the private sector, to heighten our efforts to address the systematic issues in managing solid waste. So there's a plan to manage solid waste. The private sector is a challenge to you as well, to see how you help us manage waste, and in the long term, create jobs for our people. Green financing, Ambassador, is another area we are actively pursuing because we believe that green financing has the proper conditionalities to ensure that any growth, any use of natural resources is done sustainably. So to ensure the implementation of actions on green growth, government will mobilize green financing, will implement green financing instruments such as the green bonds to actualize our green growth agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, the new Dawn administration believes that the green economy and sustainable development are intertwined. We know that a green economy will accelerate the attainment of our environmental aspirations outlined in the Vision 2030 and sustainable growth. We also appreciate that with green growth will come sustainable green jobs, particularly for our youths and women. We therefore appeal to all stakeholders, including the cooperating partners, the private sector, some of whom we met in the when we arrived, the civil society organizations, and many others to join hands with this government to achieve a modern green economy and sustainable development. We owe this, ladies and gentlemen, to our children, to our future generations, and the generations to come. As I conclude, let me once more thank the Italian government for organizing this event and for being a true friend to the Zambian people for decades. As I close, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to engage us. As you have seen that government really means well, government is on the path for green growth. Government will support all policies which will support this new model. The whole world has come to an agreement that this is the most sustainable way of development. The whole world is agreed that there's need for cooperating partners like the Italian government, several Italian companies to partner with us so that we see development in this country, so that we use all the resources we have sustainably. So I look forward to more engagement. And please be assured we will be at your service at short notice. Wish the deliberation success, and we hope to see you soon. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. First of all, thank you very much for further rising our vibes and our energies, because as you said, we are here to work and to create, so we need energies. And your inspiring intervention helped us to increase our energies. Thank you for this. Thank you for sharing your vision with us, Honourable Minister, because you pointed out all the priorities that confirm the strong engagement of the Zambian government to pursue these objectives in the green economy. You touched upon a very important point. Let me say that yes, green financing is very important. That's why I'm also very happy that Matthias Reogin from the EU delegation is with us today from the European Union delegation, because we work as Team Europe, and there are many funds that are there given by the European Union and by Italy as well in the European Union to this purpose. On Mr. Zoll, let me say that you pointed out very rightly so the importance of the private sector. As you said, we have Dr. Hassan Sakedina, CEO of Biocarbon Partners, that will talk later. And and will share his experiences, cooperation together with the Italian multinational company ENI in their activities in that sector, carbon credits that are very beneficial to the local community. Private sector is made by the big companies, but also, as we said, by small and medium enterprises. And I really want to thank you again, Honorable Dogu, for your intuition to invite with us today also the Honorable Minister for Small and Medium Enterprises, Honorable Elias Mubanga. I would like to invite him here to share his remarks with us, Honorable Minister, please, so that we can proceed with our program, focusing with your intervention on the importance of small and medium enterprises. Many are with us here in the DIC and many are online, and I'm sure this is a key sector for our bilateral cooperation. Honorable Minister.
Morning. Have some business here. No, usually business communities are like this. But just want to know that we are part of one world together.
One.
Are we all being vaccinated?
Yes, yes.
It's a policy of the government that Trump has been one those that have been vaccinated, so that very soon we can stop. Yes. Thank you very much. I would like to say Ambassador Antonino Magheri, Minister, Green Economy and Environment, Collins Dogu, MP, Head of Forestry and Red Initiative, Dr. Andrea Masanichi, the Chief Executive Officer, Bio Carbon Partners, Dr. Hassan Sashimina, all government official present, invited guests, member of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to join you today as we gather to look at the best practices of managing natural resources, land, forestry, water, as well as continuing our cooperation. It is pleasing to note that Zambia has partners like Italy who are willing to contribute to the sustainable management of natural resources. We are grateful that the ambassador be here with your team in Zambia, and that you should be able to organize such meetings so that we are able to learn more how we can protect what God has given us. Ladies and gentlemen, this forum that built and us resounding well with the focus of government in establishing the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development. The government has placed primacy on the economic transformation of Zambia. Our goal is to ensure we cultivate the right mindset and the skills that will bring about economic freedom to our people. In this regard, the focus of the new Dawn government is to encourage all Zambians, especially women and the youth, to be innovative and entrepreneurial. However, this government recognizes that these groups lack support, financial literacy, skills, and access to funds to enable them to realize their potential. Ladies and gentlemen, government believes that Zambia has the potential to sustain and support its economy. We are all a nation. We are a nation gifted various natural resources that need to be explored in order for us to create wealth for Zambia. Linkages with private sector are crucial to the development of any country, especially in the area of natural resource management and development. The knowledge and resources of the private sector can be supported to forge synergies and making sure of the comparative advantages to ensure sustainability. Natural resources should be treated as economic good, hence short and long-term benefits directly related to the use of the resource should be tangled and obviously to the people. Ladies and gentlemen, the private sector can provide the much needed financial assistance to aid the response, use and protection of the environment. Banks and financial institutions, for example, are key players in this regard through the provision of loans and startups, also to start up in communities. In addition, they can provide financial support through social corporate responsibility in community. The private sector provides the resources needed to protect the environment from which the small and medium enterprises extract the raw material they need for production. Furthermore, the private sector can provide technical services to government that support government efforts in managing natural resources. The private sector possesses the skill and knowledge on how to enhance these resources and potentially use them in a manner that provides benefits but still protects the environment. They also possess the capacity to support research and development of the new technologies that are crucial to preserving the natural resources. Ladies and gentlemen, the UPND government has committed to pressing private enterprises at the center of economic development and job creation. My ministry, it's a ministry that has been tasked to create employment for the young people and also for our women in the country. Our focus really has to also get into because our women there and youths, they need, business people like you. I guess we have business people in here that should also have, initiatives that also bring in the role of development. It is our firm belief that once our partnership is strengthened with the private sector, the outcome will reduce cost of doing business. Government is committed to improving the regulatory frameworks and remove administrative barriers to business entry and operation. Ensure that there is a building mechanism for harmonizing the different stakeholders' needs. The role of the government is to create business-friendly environment that facilitates private sector growth. Ladies and gentlemen, Zambia has a long-term vision to become a mid-income country by the year 2030. This vision emphasizes development based on sustainable natural resources management principles to reduce hunger and poverty and foster a competitive and outward-oriented economy. This requires investment in environmental assets to support all sectors of the economy, especially small-scale business and the urban poor. These environmental assets include water, soil, climate, forestry, fisheries, mineral resources, and wildlife. These are the foundation of Zambia's wealth. We need to, let our people know how our natural resources are so dear, important to us. Our people everywhere, they must understand. So such gathering like this, Ambassador, we appreciate as gathering. And we want to see more of this gathering in all areas in Zambia, especially rural areas. There's a lot of people cutting trees there daily for child. We need to get out there, sensitize our people. I'm happy that my counterpart is here, who is dealing directly with this green environment. As I close, ladies and gentlemen, let me emphasize government commitment, sustainable use of natural resources. Let us all control and selective use of Zambia's natural resources. God has blessed us with these resources for our own good. It is out of these resources that the youths will get the much desired employment. Poverty will be eradicated, and the overall economy will be revamped to benefit the nation in totality. thank you all and God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Banga, for your intervention. You focused and highlighted the importance of the private sector. I'd like to say that this is crucial. I'm very glad that we have the private sector here today in these premises and online. I'd like to say that the economic diplomacy is at the center of the activity also of the foreign minister of Zambia, because I would like to share that Honorable Kakubo, the foreign minister, was in Rome last week, had a meeting. He strongly wanted to, and we organized a meeting with the Italian companies, and he met 30 Italian companies that are interested in investing in Zambia, interested in increasing trade with Zambia. And that's the same thing we are doing today, Minister. We have companies in the room, we have companies online, Zambian and Italian companies, and I would like to say that this is the role of the Italian embassy, together with other cooperating partners. The Italian embassy is very happy, very eager to work as putting together the actors to pursue these objectives, to improve investment, to improve employment. So I'd like to say that the embassy is always ready to do this. It is doing this today and has done this before, and will continue to do so, because it's like the center of this potential, this possible contact. And that's what we are ready to do. I would like also to say, you highlighted also how people in Zambia are taking advantage of the natural resources, like cutting wood, to have charcoal. I think we have to work a lot so that we can share with the Zambian people that the natural resources are there for them, but are there also for the next generations, so that we develop a sustainable economy. This does not mean that they cannot take advantage of these resources now. On the contrary, we are here to make sure that the resources are used now and can be used also in the future. So I'd like to thank you again, Honorable Banga, and together with you also, Honorable Minister Nzogu, for your interventions. I'd like to say that now we will continue with our works. It will be an interactive discussion. We will have the whole day. We will have a light lunch. We will have the part on art in the afternoon. So I believe this is an important occasion for all the people who are here and that are online to interact. I also want to thank you, our ministers, because I know that your collaborators will stay with us. So I'd like to invite all the attendants to interact with your teams, so that we go ahead in a concrete way. It's not about words, this is about action, this is about concrete projects. You have, I know, very important commitments during the day, including the Parliament. I want to thank you for being here at this opening, and also for, as I said, allowing your teams to be with us the whole day. So with this, I would like to pass to the MC for the continuation of our works, and thank you very much to all of you.
Right, I believe that the ambassador deserves a bigger hand than that. The two ministers deserve an even bigger hand. I'd like to assure you both the live and the virtual audience that such a feat is quite rare even in this country. So 2 ministers take time out to come and be with the people to discuss things that matter to them. So thank you very much, honorable ministers. Allow me also to add a plea through to add on to the plea through economic diplomacy. Now, my local diplomacy requests you to stay throughout the presentation and make your presentations to the speaker as to why you did that. Thank you very much. Echoing what has been said very quickly, would like to appreciate Ambassador. I probably called you Antonio as well, but I'm sure you get that a lot. He's Antonino Maggiore, and he talked about the planet and prosperity as the theme under the Italian president, the presidency of the G20 under the Italian president and its government. And he talked about local art and its contribution to the economy. And when he was saying that, I did recall that if you look around the world to places that have been preserved, away from the vagaries of bad weather, you will discover that the art there depicts the economy of people. If they were going into industry, you'll find traces of that, you'll find hunting and so forth. Now he is saying, and in the next 3 days, showcase that even Zambian artists have done that for us, showing what the local, how art contributes to the local economy. Coming to the speech by Honorable Collins Zobo, Minister of Green Economy, he talked about the fact that there's an MOU of €200 plus, and this MOU is to be used for the greening of the economy through mainstreaming green growth and green investments, the generation of flows and stocks of natural and capital accounts, forest cultivation, the benefits of sharing carbon credits, that's good for our local and international businesses, renewable green growth through energy growth, and then enabling environment for green industries. Moving on to the Honorable Minister, Mr. Mbanga, he lauded Zambia-Italy partnership, and he talked about the economic transformation through the small-scale industry, but he requested that they need support skills and financial literacy in order to do that. And I'm sure the businesses present here and virtually will be more than happy to come through for us, Minister. And he looked at the synergies of equitable treatment of natural resources, because the bulk of the small industry in Zambia is based where the natural resources are gotten from. And he feels that the industry, the local communities should get a fair share of that. And he talked about rural homestead sustainability as well. All in all, what we are saying together, what they were saying together is that there are opportunities for this country to grow and by partnering with the country of Italy and other interested persons. Having said all that, we now come to the meat, or the secondary portion of what we came for this morning. And these will be talks by different experts from around the world. One of them will be from here. The rest will speak to us virtually, and we do hope and pray that our technology will make everything possible so that all is loud and clear. We will begin with Mr. Dr. Andrea Marcinich. Dr. Andrea Marcinich is Head of Forestry and Red Initiatives, or ENI. Now, ENI is an integrated energy company dedicated to total decarbonization of products and processing by 2050. And they do want to follow the UN guidelines for sustainable and development goals. Now, for those of us who are purely businessmen, RED, R-E-D-D, stands for Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation. So I would like to invite Dr. Marcinich now to speak to us on the topic ENI, a partnership approach in forest conservation.
Good morning, everyone. Excellencies and honorable ministers and distinguished guests. First of all, I would like to apologize for not being there. Unfortunately, for personal reasons, I wasn't able to travel, and I hope I will be able to travel soon again so that I will be able to come to Zambia. I would like to thank the Italian ambassador and the Italian embassy for the opportunity to participate in such an event. And I will just try to take a few minutes to briefly introduce the importance of forests and their protection and conservation, and how ENI is approaching the issue. So I have prepared a few slides. I don't know if we can project them. Okay, if we can move to the following one. Okay, I will before getting in detailing the topics that we are going to introduce today, I would like just to make a step back and remind us to ourselves the importance of the Sustainable Development Goals agenda of the United Nations. In 2015, in New York, the UN summit defined an agenda with the name of ending poverty in all its forms, and an agenda that envisages the respect of human rights, of human dignity, the rule of law, equality, and non-discrimination. And those are embedded in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and in all the human rights treaties through which all the states endorse the responsibilities to protect humanity and human rights. In this agenda, there are 17 goals that are divided in 169 targets, and they all aim at improving the living condition of the entire world population. And this is particularly important, and if we move to the following slide, the agenda is in fact an opportunity for the private sector for its growth and development. Because by integrating those SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, we can enhance the ability to prevent and manage risks, and we have the opportunity to innovate, and we have the opportunity to attract and value resources, and increase the value of our companies. And by the way, we can increase the trust of all our stakeholders. So ENI has defined its mission with a direct reference to the Sustainable Development Goals, and because we think that as an energy company, we have opportunities and responsibilities. And in particular, the actions and the goals that we are fostering are the ones that relate to the climate action to prevent climate change, to the protection of life on land. We have a focus on the access to clean energy worldwide and to a responsible consumption of goods and production. And we have to foster innovation in all the fields, and equality and dignity is essential to achieve that, and that can be done only through partnerships with governments, stakeholders, NGOs, local population, and local community. That's the only way we can look forward in the longer term. That's why ENI promotes access to clean power and to energy worldwide. And we have a broad portfolio of initiatives in all the fields that we just mentioned. I think ENI was one of the first major companies to embed those SDGs in its mission. So how are we structured? Next slide, please. So we are, as I mentioned, an integrated energy company. We obviously have a responsibility in create value for our stakeholders. To do that, we have three main pillars that rely on our financial discipline. And the pillars are the decarbonization, scope 1, 2, and 3, the diversification of our energy source, biofuels, bioenergy, and enhancing the retail and the use of renewables. And we must be flexible and resilient because the world is changing very quickly. This can be done through the deployment of innovation. That's the first lever that we have to use. And all the sustainability development goals must be embedded in all our actions. So, next slide, please. So this is a typical company strategy slide. I will try not to bother you with the numbers and the details, but the important message that we would like to give here is that Eni targets to be a net zero energy company by 2050. And we defined intermediate targets that bring us to the net zero, because we believe that net zero and the strongest fight against climate change can be achieved through a transition in our energy paradigm. And in order to be sustainable, we have to take steps. And our steps are based on technologies, on the change in the energy mix, reducing emission from our operation and reducing emission from our products as well. When we talk about scope 3, we're talking about the emissions that come from the use of our product mainly. To reduce the remaining emission, what we call the hard-to-abate emission, particularly during the transition, we have to find solutions that allow us to act immediately, not to wait until we have new technology that abate also those hard-to-abate emissions. And we are targeting that with the forestry activity of Eni and the REDD+ activity that is used to compensate the residual marginal hard-to-abate part of our overall emissions. Next slide, please. So in what context are we moving? You all know, and I will not repeat that, but the Paris Agreement set some challenging targets. We have to stay well below 2 degrees of average temperature increase, but we must try to get below 1.5 degrees in terms of increase. And that will allow a significant reduction in the risks that are linked to climate change. So what the energy companies can do, we have to target a net zero, but we must be able to supply the world with the energy it needs to move towards this transition. So what can we do? We have to apply all the technology, all the technological and the organizational tools that we have, but we can also act using the reduction of emission from other sources or to the enhancement of the carbon stocks elsewhere, in particular in the biomass of our ecosystems. Next slide, please. So if we talk about hard-to-abate emissions, so those emissions that will still be there once we apply all the technology we need, we have an interest in turning those activities in order to reduce the potential impact of those emissions. And what can we do? Well, the scientific community has already identified the agriculture, forestry, and other land use sector as a sector that is responsible of about 23% of the overall greenhouse gas emission worldwide. So the importance of managing the use of land and the management of forestry and the proper development of agriculture, those actions are those that are called natural climate solutions, and those are the solutions that are already available today to act immediately to mitigate climate change. Next slide, please. So the term natural climate solutions was coined by Griscom, professor researcher, and it actually defines all those actions that reduce greenhouse gases emission from the ecosystems, be them forestry, grasslands, wetlands. Those natural climate solutions have multiple impacts or dividends because they do reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Because if you manage the use of land, you will reduce the emissions from those actions, but you also are able to enhance the capacity to capture and store carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And third part, and which is for me the most important, the improvement of nature and ecosystems provides more resilience and provides communities with adaptation tools towards climate change. So there are pathways to start acting now to reduce emissions and greenhouse gases immediately, while finding technical solutions to supply the world with the right amount of energy. Next slide, please. So moving towards RED+, it has been already defined, but it's a net of solutions that actually acts on different levels. And this RED+ scheme has been defined within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And it acts on reducing the degradation, reducing the destruction of forests or the conservation. It acts on sustainable management of forests and enhancement of carbon stocks in soil. Those are actions that are crucial to meet the targets for 2030 and beyond. So next slide, please. So obviously, RED+ means reduce emission from deforestation and forest degradation. With the plus, we add the fact that it also acts as an enhancement of carbon stocks and an improvement of ecosystem and protection of biodiversity, while fostering the sustainable development of local communities that live in the forest, of the forest, or that previously lived of the deforestation. So there are 5 main lines of activity: reducing emission from deforestation, so preventing the transformation of forest to no forest, whatever you do with it. Reduce emission from forest degradation, because even if you keep the forest, if you degrade it, the carbon stocks reduces, but you have to conserve the carbon stocks, in particular in primary forests. And then you have to manage the remaining forests that you keep so that you are able to maintain them and to extract the maximum dividends in terms of ecosystem services to communities, but also revenues and development flows. And of course, you have to enhance the capability of storing the stocks of forests. So what are we talking about? Just to give you a number, deforestation in the world is causing roughly between 9 and 11% of greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. And deforestation worldwide emits more than what the European Union emits as a whole, with all its sector added on. So every year, millions and millions of hectares are destroyed for many different reasons. And we know that the destruction of an hectare of primary forest emits 20 times more of what a newly planted forest can do. So as of today, preserving the destruction and avoiding the destruction of forests is a way to reduce immediately the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And RED+ schemes have an important role also because they can provide immediate results in terms of development for local communities. Next slide, please. So what can be the role of the private sector in the overall RED+ scheme? Okay. So of course, can include financing and investing in the action in the projects and within the nationally defined RED+ strategy. And that can lead to the production of emission reduction credits that create the demand for additional reduction, and it's a positive and a positive feedback on the evolution of the system. We as a company have a role that is really represented because we are able to spread capacity and knowledge sharing in development of very complex products. We can support implementers with technical guidance, in particular in new identified countries. We can provide a long-term funding for the project because we can commit to long-term purchase agreement of those terms that guarantee those projects a long-term funding flow that make the project viable in the long term. And of course, we can and participate in stakeholder engagement, and we can strongly monitor what all these projects are bringing in terms of benefits, both environmental and social benefits to the communities. So next slide, please. So I will try to be fast, but what's our model? Our model has 4 main steps. We won't be part of the RED project setup phase, in which through a cooperation agreement with major developers worldwide, we identify areas and we develop feasibility studies in order to identify actions to be developed and so that the projects can be viable. We participate in the governance of those projects just to support the developers in identifying other ways that action could be developed, but also monitoring and providing advice and support and gathering information so that they can improve the overall effectiveness of the project. On the carbon credit side, we agree on long-term or very long-term agreements which provide those projects with a guarantee of cash flow, which is the basis of the survival of the overall projects. And we monitor strictly the fact that the benefits of those projects, and economical but also social, go to local communities, and we are strongly focused on monitoring the fact that long-term benefits for communities are there, and that's the very important part of RED+ projects. So every dollars that comes in terms of revenues from carbon credits has a multiplying effect in terms of increased overall revenues for the communities, both in terms of services and revenues, because the project fosters development of the economies and of the communities that allow them to get additional revenues from the protection of the forest rather than the destruction of the forest. And at the same time, increasing their overall quality in livelihood. So the last slide, just a brief example on in Zambia. So we just can have the last slide. So the example, of course, is from the RED+ Luangwa Community Forest Project, LCFP. It's a project that is developed by biocarbon partners, and I'm sure it will give you much more details in the following presentation in cooperation with Peace Power Foundation, which is an NGO that is focused on nature conservation. So the activities of the projects are given here, but essentially the overall area of the project covers almost 1 million hectares. There are more than 10 red list species, red list, IUCN red list species that are monitored, and the project provides support in protecting the species. As of today, or at the end of 2020, the project was certified for having preserved more than almost 30,000 hectares from destruction from 2015 to 2020. And we have committed to a 20 years purchase agreement coming from for the credits coming from this project. So the activities have been developed through 58 social projects between 2016 and 2020. But what I wanted to stress here is that those projects are transformational, not only because they provide a revenue flow from the purchase of carbon credits, but mainly because they provide development path for the agriculture and for the overall activities of local communities that enables them to maintain the forest, protect the forest, enhance the forest, and improve their livelihood. So, thank you so much for the attention, and I'm sure that Hassan Sachedina will give you more details on the project.
Dr. Andrea Marcinis, thank you very much. I'm head of forestry of NE. You gave us a very good overview of what you're doing worldwide, and particularly in the country of Zambia. Honorable Mbanga, I'm sure when they were talking about forestry and how it's used sustainably, you must have with pride sat there and said, after all these years, finally everyone realized that actually the Temene system was a very sustainable way of farming in Zambia. Honorable Zobo, I hope you have taken a few lessons to your progress as well. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is a very interesting person as he comes up. He shares a lot of things in common with someone all of you know very well, you and I. He was born in Kenya, like Barack Obama. You may say, yes, sir. His mother was an American, just like Barack Obama. His mother was born in Kansas, just like his mother was born in Kansas. The only thing he hasn't told me is whether he too wants to stand for you as president. His name is Dr. Hassan Sachedina. He's the CEO of Biocarbon Partners, and is one of the leading advocates in RED and the development of its initiatives. He's a founder of the Biocarbon Partners, which we will talk about. And I'd like to give him a big hand as he speaks to us about the contribution of natural climate solutions and the role of RED Plus projects. Dr. Sachedina.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much. I have zero intention of running for US president. I just want to start with a small anecdote. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, a few weeks ago, went into space. And upon landing, he announced a $1 billion donation to protect ecosystems. And it was because, in his words, he saw how fragile the Earth looked as this blue orb space. So as I share our story, I just have two things in the back of your mind. One is fragility, and the other is scale. At a much lower altitude, many of you have probably flown over Zambia. One of the things I remark is how small trees look, even at medium altitude. And to put that in context, when we've done our inventories, the average tree height in the open forest is 12 meters. Underneath the root systems, under the soils, you're looking at maybe another 3 meters. So that's about 15 meters of biomass above and below ground. To put that further in context, the distance from the surface of the Earth to the core is about 6,370 kilometers. And from the surface of the Earth to space, another 30. So 15 meters is where you have the bulk of life. in 6,400 meters from the core of the Earth to the edge of space. And it reminds me, I heard it was once said that we as humans owe our survival to the fact that it rains and the top 6 inches of soil. So what I want to do now is to share a concrete example with you at the ground level. We all know this is a huge problem, the climate change problem. When we look at the amount of carbon that we have in the global carbon budget left between now and 2030, at current emissions rates, we're going to exceed the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, probably around 2028 to 2029. Deforestation and land use, so deforestation and agriculture contributes around 23 or 24% of the total emissions caused by humans annually. And if you take deforestation, we're looking at about 11% of deforestation in terms of the human-caused emissions globally. So we're looking at a big problem. And as Honorable Zorba said, Zambia is known for having the highest amount of deforestation than any African country, and is in the global top 10 per capita emissions per person. So we have a big issue globally, and we have a big issue locally. BCP, the company which I'm the CEO of, we're a for-profit social enterprise, and we're mission-driven. Our mission is to make the conservation of wildlife habitat valuable to people. We were incorporated in Zambia 10 years ago, in 2012. And initially, we started one pilot project in the Funza district, in the bottom left, called the Lower Zambezi Red Plus project. It's a forest conservation area of roughly 40,000 hectares. It's within Lusaka province, very heavy deforestation threat, but from a conservation angle, important because it's helping to protect 61 kilometers of the boundary of Lower Zambezi National Park. In 2014, we scaled that model up to Eastern Province under what we refer to as the Luangwa Community Forest Project. This project is currently, by hectares, the largest project in the world. It's over 1 million hectares. We partnered with 12 chieftains across both Lusaka and Eastern Province, and around 217,000 people are benefiting from this project. As you can see, it's helping to build what is becoming one of the largest wildlife corridors in Africa, interlinking 5 national parks. So Lower Zambezi up to Luangwa, including Rwanda and South Rwanda. These are also Trans-Frontier Conservation Areas, TFCAs, in Lower Zambezi Mana up to Luangwa. This is a very, very important conservation landscape. From any angle that you look at it, from the science side of things, this is one of the last, most important wildlife stock left on Earth. And so connectivity is really, really important. Over the last decade, our team has grown. We're roughly around just over 200 people on payroll. And when we quantify impact-wise, how many additional indirect jobs this work has created, it's hovering around an additional 1,300 jobs. Slide, please. As you can see here, the areas in red are the areas which we team up with communities. So using a very, very enabling legislation. And I must commend the government. Zambia has one of the most enabling legislation for community forestry on Earth. And these areas here are all community forests, where the communities have been granted the rights from government to monetize the carbon. BCP does not own a single acre, not 1 acre in this area. It's sometimes useful to look at some of these metrics. The Luangwa project alone is protecting over 500 million trees. The project is in the phase right now of expanding. The 12 chieftains, there are 5 additional chieftains who applied to join the partnership, and we're supporting them through the process of gaining their rights from government. I look forward to the day when this project is a 1 billion tree project. One of the things that we're obsessed about is impact. It is so central to our mission. If we cannot make these habitats valuable to people, then what incentive do they have to protect them? So one of the things that we measure every 2 years is the increase in average household income in the 12 chiefdoms where we work. This project has increased average household income by 171% last 5 years. That's during COVID and in a recession. And just to give you an idea of the kind of quantum of what we're talking about here, in the last 2 years, this project has made direct payments to 12 communities. That is payments into community accounts of $5 million US. That does not include all the additional money that's going into governance programs, support to governance, to livelihoods, which is invested through a separate budget. And again, during the pandemic. I think it's safe to say that these kind of revenue flows are historic and their transformation in these communities. As far as we're aware, tourism, hunting, other kind of land uses have not contributed these kinds of amounts of direct payments. And the beauty of this is it's without digging a mine, it's without hunting an animal, it's without cutting a tree. It's a payment for protecting those trees. A really important part of this model is building capacity, building community forestry capacity. And you'll see a metric down here in terms of the number of community scouts. These are community members from the chiefdoms we partner with who are helping to protect the habitat and protect the wildlife. What I'm really pleased to share with you is that when we look at our payroll as a company, already 65% of our total payroll is from our partner chiefdoms, and that includes skilled jobs. Our goal in the next few years is for that to become 75% and then 85% of the jobs in the entire company coming from our partner chiefdoms. One of the other programs, and we heard the Honourable Minister mentioning how important it is to look at climate smart agriculture, because this is not just a mitigation project. This is an adaptation project. When you look at the maps and the data from the scientists, Africa has contributed somewhere between 1% and 3% of the total cumulative historic emissions that have contributed to the problem, to this mess. But when you look at the maps of the area which is going to be the most impacted by climate change, it's us. It's the belt of countries from Sahel down to SA. We are going to get the brunt of this in the next 2-3 decades. And yet we've contributed the least. And if you look at global climate finance flows, as a continent, we're only so far attracted 3% cumulative total finance. So there's a huge mismatch here. And what's really important about these projects is they have to also focus on adaptation, because the brunt of the impact is coming. And as we all know, we depend upon a rainy season. It's meant to start raining in a few weeks. I shudder to think if the rains here were ever delayed, the rains ever failed, which occasionally happens in the country where I'm from, which is Kenya. We are so dependent on these seasonal rains. We would risk famine. So at a macro level, that's obviously a climate risk. We're already beginning to see the risks at a lower level. So one of the adaptation sides of the program, which we are doing everything we can to scale exponentially, is around climate smart agriculture. By 2024, this will probably be close to 21,000 houses. It's more than food security, it's nutrition security that's really important. So it's this combination of conservation, community livelihoods, and supporting government and community institutions with governance capacity. Next slide. We're an African company. We are 99% African born. We are a majority African citizen. When we look at the landscape of competition out there, a lot of it's European or American. It's important to us that we try and craft solutions here at work. And I'm not saying this is perfect. There's loads of room for improvement, but we are really, really trying our best to help put Zambia on the map. So if you want to look at a quality forest carbon project, not by African standards, but by global standards, you need to look at these Zambian projects and see what these partners have been able to achieve. Next slide. So these projects, they take a long time to set up. They are quite cash hungry. The renewable project took us 6.5 years to build before we could actually sell anything. So imagine that. How many businesses can run for 6.5 years without any funding or selling anything? So one of the key risks of this project, these types of projects, is you've got the market risk. Will you be able to sell a credit when you generate one? And then obviously the capital risk as well. Raising the money, whether it's commercial, debt, grant finance, to build a large-scale project. There are other risks as well, but one of the things that, thanks to the support of E&I, who are our biggest partner, we've been able to really successfully mitigate the market risk of the Luangwa project. And this is really, really important because, as Andrea, previous speaker, mentioned, long-term, having a guarantee of long-term finance is really important. It helps you to plan. And I'm really glad to share with you that these projects are not aid or tourism dependent at all. They're 100% self-financed through this mechanism. The opportunity for Zambia, we believe, is huge. Over the next 9 years and 3 months, the climate change sector, this space, is likely going to explode. And Zambia has gained so much traction. There's such an enabling environment, policies in place, the laws are in place, there is capacity. There is a wave coming, and it is really, really important that Zambia does what it can to catch this wave. By 2030, the amount of capital that is probably going to flow into this sector is going to be unprecedented. We're hearing references to a warfare, and that is what is needed. Plain and simple. So Zambia is already in a fantastic position. The problem is huge. Now it's really about how to scale this up. Given that what we're dealing with here is really quite a fragile belt of forests. Once these forests get lost, to recover them, it's not simple. It's not a 10 or 20 year process. It will take a century. Next slide. I just want to share with you again, along this theme of scale. Informally, internally, we refer to it as our 30 cubed goal. By 2030, BCP, as an individual company, we are targeting, we hope to have co-management agreements across 30 million acres. That's 11 million hectares. We hope to be reducing up to 30 million tons of emissions a year. And we hope to be benefiting 3 million rural people. Now you might ask yourself, that's really ambitious, especially for one organization. And it is. And it has to be. This problem is huge. And we have got to give this everything we can. We have a responsibility in some ways, is the way we view this. We believe that Africa needs about 1,000 more companies like BCP with these kind of goals, who are ready to partner with communities and support governments to access this mechanism and to use this tool to help to transform some of these areas, which, let's face it, I mean, some of these areas around these important biodiversity hotspots, they have really high levels of poverty. Some of them are depleted of wildlife. And economically, they are not strong. This, we believe, and I believe, is the most powerful tool we have of our generation to capitalize green growth through these forest carbon markets. And to reiterate, just repeat, the beauty of this is that it's sustainable. Nothing's cut down, nothing is killed. when I said that we were trying to put Zambia on the map, it's true. And the reason is that what we're trying to do is position Zambia as a supplier of high quality premium carbon offset. And the reason that's important is because you can then demand a high price, which means then communities get a higher share of revenue. And the way to do that is through these international standards, like the Verified Carbon Standard and the CCB, Climate, Community and Biodiversity Plans. And that CCB standard is really important because it's a co-benefit. It measures what you're doing for people and the environment. And as a base measure, all the BCP projects are triple gold CCB, which is the highest certification. And it's surprisingly and unfortunately not a high enough certification for REN projects around the continent. And it's really, really difficult to demonstrate that social impact. This year, we, in the voluntary carbon markets, where the space that we operate, the key recognitions comes from environment and finance. And we're really pleased to announce that the renewable project was voted by a number of different people who were in the sector and participated. It was voted as the best individual offsetting project in the world. The company also won the best impact report. And that goes to what I was sharing with you earlier about how we are so solely focused on are we having impact and are we achieving our mission or not. And linked to that, we were also runner-up as the best developer in the world for forestry, carbon projects, as well as overall. And this was really quite significant for us because under that overall category, that includes everything. That includes solar, that includes wind, all of those categories. So, and this is for a Zambian company. So we're really excited about that. We're also a B Corp, and there are roughly around 4,100 B Corps in the world. And for our environmental and our social impacts, also how we look after our staff. Our score is in the top 0.5% of B Corps globally. And it includes companies that you will have heard of. Patagonia, the clothing company, is one of them. Some of these are quite large companies. These two projects, they qualify and they achieve 16 of the 17 SDGs. And one of the things that we're working on right now, we're on a multi-year pathway to become compliant with the IFC performance standards. Now, you may ask why. So none of the standards like VCS or 60B require this, and none of our offsetting partners require IFC performance standard compliance either. But for us, it's so important to continue building internal and external capacity and to be as high quality as we can against these various standards. So this is voluntary. It's a multi-year process, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. But at the end of it, we're going to have even stronger technical programming, evidenced by are we delivering household level impact? We're protecting habitat, and is wildlife being restored? All of this would be impossible without partners. And I'm really glad to share we've been able to build up an infrastructure of partnerships that have helped us to get this far. We talk about our government partners are central and critical to this. And the way we view this is we are working in partnership with government and communities. The private sector, even granting organizations have decided to back this model to help to de-risk it. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Dr. Sajidin, thank you very much for the very informative talk that you spoke about, and reminding all of us who are in the business community that you can have opportunities for private sector interventions that are not only beneficial to your company's bottom line in terms of profit, but also benefits the community directly, and you contribute to actually the furtherance of communities sustainably surviving in the current scenario that we live in. Well, our next speaker comes to us from Contarina SPA. Now, Contarina SPA is the waste management company working from the province of Treviso in Italy. And Marco Mattiello will speak to us on the Italian example of best practice in waste management and environmental protection. He'll come to us virtually. Over to you, Marco.
Sorry. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the President of Contarina, I'd like to thank you and to thank His Excellency, the Ambassador of Italy, Antonino Maggiore, for inviting Contarina to this high-level event. I have some slides. I am Marco Mattiello, the International Relations Manager at Contarina. My presentation will be divided into three main parts. What we are doing in our territory in Italy, in the province of Treviso, in the Veneto region, our international cooperation approach, and concrete example of a project we are developing in Africa, in the Union of Comoros. Next slide, please. Contarina is a public company. We are owned by the 49 municipalities we serve in the waste management. As you can see, we are in the northeastern part of Italy. We are 40 kilometers from Venice. We serve an area of 1,300 square meters for more than 500,000 inhabitants, providing our service in different geographical and social contexts as historical center, urban and suburban areas, rural areas, and remote areas, as well as our territory goes until the beginning of the Alps. We have 763 employees. Next slide, please. And our waste management model is based on the door-to-door collection together with a pay-as-you-throw fee. The pay-as-you-throw fee follow the polluter pays principle. So as much waste, no recyclable waste you produce, the higher is your bill. Next slide, please. And these are the results we obtain in our territory. 89.7% of separate collection. It's quite a lot. It's based on the recyclable materials, so yard waste, garden waste, the organic waste, paper and cardboard, and plastic, metal, and glasses. So only 42 kilograms out of 402 kilograms of waste produced by our citizens goes to incineration and landfill. Our waste management model is recognized best practice at national and international level. It's an example of green economy, you know, how our territory, our citizens take care of the territory where they live. And of course, is an example of how in our territory we are helping the planet in saving natural resources. Next slide, please. Here you see in the middle a keyword that is responsibility, and that I will use several times during my presentation. And this morning, the ministry has explained the track the new Zambia government is following, and that means that also the new Zambia government is taking their responsibility towards the environment. In this conceptual model, responsibility means also that every single actor, every single stakeholder in our territory has to take the big or small piece of responsibility. This responsibility is possible thanks to knowledge made by information, education, and communication that brings action at single and collective level, and those actions brings outcomes that I've just show you, for example, the 89.7% of separate collection. And those outcomes brings again more knowledge. Next slide, please. In our territory, just to give you an additional information, we have the first plant in the world to recycle the diapers. Of course, we need to invest in infrastructures, in technologies, for example, lorries or recycling plants. But even in our territory, for us, the most important investment is towards citizens, creating education, communication, and awareness raising. Because we truly believe that starting from, for example, a pupil from the elementary school and explaining him how to what to do with the waste he produces, or explaining them about recycling or sustainable development, means that this kid, when we become an adult, whether he will live in our territory or in Africa or in Latin America, he will exactly know what to do with the waste that he produces. Next slide, please. Having said that, I'd like to introduce you our approach to the international cooperation. Next slide, please. And this is what happened 3 years ago, analyzing this graph. This comes from the World Bank. Water waste is the book they produce. And those are the numbers of total projected waste generation in the next decades, divided into different areas in the globe. And as you can see, the sub-Saharan Africa area will see a huge increase of waste production in the next years. So the question was, okay, we reach almost the 90% of separate collection in our territory, but we need to provide our experience also outside of our territory. We cannot stay seated and waiting for the others to see how they will manage, how they will handle with the waste generation. So this is the reason why we started working also outside of our territory, in Africa, for example, or in Latin America. Next slide, please. Starting from how to develop a sustainable model on waste management. So from separate collections to recycling plants to communication and education, that are our pillars. And those pillars are providing not only in our territory, but also in developing countries, environmental, economic, and social, especially, for example, the creation of green jobs opportunities. Next slide, please. As I said before, we are a public company, so we don't need to make profits. Our main goal is to support the local and national authorities to develop a project together on sustainable waste management. And then at the end of the project, to be sure that we provided all the necessary tools that those authorities will be able to continue what we have developed together. Following these main goals, first of all, to reduce the amount of waste that ends up in landfill or even abandoned in the environment. To develop an efficient and effective waste management model, which includes, for example, the collection of organic waste, the separation at the source, and the transformation into biogas on compost, for example. The biogas can produce electricity that could be connected to the grid. And the recovery, of course, of recyclable materials. This model is creating also new professions, and especially green jobs. It's creating awareness raising and training for the citizens at all levels, and increase the capacity at the institutional level for the implementation and the sustainability of a comprehensive waste management model. Next slide, please. The success criteria. So how do we work? Basically, as we can, most of the time, we cannot afford huge projects because also for lack of budget. Basically, we work on pilot projects in different contexts. For example, highly populated area with high density of population, or rural areas, or even touristic areas. I know that your country is investing a lot in tourism. And for example, a waste management project in the touristic areas could be also a nice presentation of the country. So we conduct inspection to identify the best solution for the territory. Of course, we propose technical modular solutions to facilitate the adaptation of technology to the future needs. What do I mean? If we start with a pilot project, we demonstrate that this project works. It's easier to implement the project with bigger numbers, and this modular solution help to do this. To promote the collaboration between the different levels of government. Of course, as I said before, taking the responsibility involving stakeholders, and especially the local residents through awareness campaign regarding the new waste management plan. It's important to explain to everyone how this new model, this new waste management model works. And of course, we support the local institution to promote, to improve and protect their territory. Next slide, please. This is what we are doing in Comoros, in Africa. It's a project funded by the Italian Ministry of Environment, where we are providing a feasibility study for the assessment of the local situation, technical assistance, for example, the collection system and the biogas plant for the organic waste where we are producing electricity. We training and communication for local stakeholders, decision makers, local trainers, technicians, and population. And we are supporting also the Comorian government in implementing a new legislative framework related to waste management. Next slide, please. And here we have some examples of technical assistance we are providing. So we sent to Comoros three lorries, three collection lorries. And just to show you that we put two loudspeakers out in our lorries with a recorded CD in order to inform the population that we are collecting waste and to provide also some specific information about taking care of their environment and so on. And on the right side, you see some hundreds of beans we sent to Comoros. Next up, please. Training and communication is extremely important, not only in our territory, but in the projects we are developing. So this is an example of a training session we provided in Comoros, because we follow the model of train the trainers. So we train the population, the experts that then will be on the field to inform the population about the new waste management model. So on the left side again, a training session, and on the right side, a lady with some stickers that we have designed for the information meetings. Next, please. Those are the beans that we sent to Comoros. On the left side, the mixed waste with also the stickers that we have prepared for the project. So then there will be a separation of all the recyclables, and on the right side, the bin dedicated to the organic waste that then goes to the plant for the biogas production. Next, please. Those are materials for informing the citizens. So on the left side, the poster that we have created to inform the citizens about the meetings with the population. And on the right side, some posters where we inform the population how dangerous, this is, for example, the kids that are playing with all the waste. So how important is to take care of about the environment and avoid that the kids are playing ball with all the waste around. Next, please. And these are an example of materials prepared for the schools. So some medals that we are giving to the kids that will take care, that will participate to the training sessions, and also on the right side some posters prepared for schools where we are informing how important is to put the right the waste in the right bins, and again to take care about the environment. Next, please. My last slide is the final consideration. So Contarina, of course, is happy to work with local governments and institutions in order to facilitate the independence of their communities in the entire integrated waste management process. We are looking to transform them into leaders of their own social and environmental and economical improvements. Only in this way the community receives support in the development of strategies for waste management, acquiring know-how, improving its technical, operation, and organizational skills, as well as sustainability. Thank you very much, and of course I'm available for any question now or in the future. You have all our contacts, and thank you very much again for inviting us.
Thank you very much, Grazia, Marco Mangiello, for Contarina, for letting us know how through innovation and creativity, you can have waste management that is not only sustainable, but actually helps the community. As you were speaking, it was quite obvious for the Zambian partners that would be interested that this is something that can be scaled to operate in a city like Lusaka and municipal council and district council elsewhere. Our last speaker for the morning, now into the afternoon, will provide a gender balance for us. We've heard from many men, good voices, good looking, but nothing beats a very good looking lady who comes and speaks to us about something very important. Her name is Francesca Zanello. She's from Hydro Studi. Hydro Studi is a civil engineering company providing professional services in the area of water and the environment. Let's motivate her with a big hand, Francesca.
Important topics as land conservation, forest protection, and water management in a sustainable way. My today's speech will focus on the Hydro Studies services that contribute in achieving several, actually, of the Sustainable Development Goals, but explicitly, I will focus on some of our activities towards the support of clean water and sanitation for all. Next slide. Slide, please. Can you please show the slide shared? Thank you. So water is the driving force of all nature, stated Leonardo da Vinci, the Italian genius of art and science, highlighting the importance of such a natural resource in shaping and modeling our Earth, but also the fundamental role it has in our lives. Unfortunately, nowadays, this precious resource is not always used in a sustainable manner, and it's not available for everybody. Next slide, please. We at Hydro Studi believe in a world in which the water challenges are no longer a barrier to an inclusive, sustainable access to water for everybody. Our contribution is towards our mission. It is to provide advanced and innovative engineering consultancy services that will help improve the water infrastructure's efficiency and their resiliency against climate change. Next slide. Please. Thank you. So Hydro Studi is a European, privately owned, independent engineering and consultancy services providing small-medium enterprise. It was established in Italy in 2002. The headquarters are in Trieste, and we have 2 branches in Italy, namely in Milan and Cagliari, and we also have a branch in Georgia, in Tbilisi. Our team includes more than 50 engineers, highly skilled in hydraulic and environmental engineering. Part of them have also been awarded a PhD on water-related topics. And all have experience in consultancy services or R&D activities that were applied in Europe, Balkans, Caucasus, Middle East, and recently also in Africa. Our continuous effort towards research and development has been recognized. It's carried out in collaboration with national and international academic world, has allowed us to become tenants of Area Science Park and Sardegna Ricerche, that are 2 multi-sectoral scientific technological parks in Italy and national research institutions. Hydro Studi is also partner of an established business network. This is called Integrated Water Care Solutions. Next slide, please. So our services, as I said, cover all the cycle of water management and the interaction of water with land. More specifically, our team dedicated to water and wastewater systems provide a full range of services to water and wastewater clients, including strategic planning, master planning, feasibility studies, detailed design, construction management, and work supervision, as well as economical analysis, multi-criteria analysis. Furthermore, we provide services in the traditional classical civil engineering service sectors. We do study the physics of the phenomena by designing and studying scaled-down physical models, for example, for studying the interaction of artifacts with water courses. And we use advanced numerical models, mono-dimensional or multidimensional, to understand the impact of water courses and on territories during extreme events, as those caused by the advancing climate change, and to assess the risk, the hydraulic risk, and what we can do to improve the land protection. As regards research and development, it supports all our services, in particular as regards the water supply system. We have enhanced the traditional approach based on simulations, numerical simulations, by recent discoveries that come from complex network theory and by the knowledge that we gain through the analysis using advanced artificial intelligence algorithms applied to all the big data that are collected during the monitoring of water supply systems that we perform in our everyday activities. Please, next slide. So water is one of the most valuable resources and has to be protected and safeguarded. Nevertheless, this is not the case. It's under the pressure of continuous population growth, pollution and climate change. And the recent report of United Nations has advanced the hypothesis that by 2050, 55 billion people could face water shortages. The scenario is even worse if we consider that less than 1% of the available fresh water on the earth is actually available for human consumption. So what can we do to actually achieve and support the achievement of the 6 Sustainable Development Goals? That is the one dedicated to ensure a sustainable use of water and the access to water for everybody, as well as for sanitation. Well, we have to actually focus on the way the water system are managed from source to tap, and from tap, how the wastewater is treated and conveyed again to the natural environment. We have to improve how we deal with this. We have to be conscious that every step, the treatment, the way we convey water to the tap, the way we treat the wastewaters is very energy consuming. That means that by conserving water, by reducing water consumption, we are actually saving energy. Please, next slide. Thank you. But the point is that historically, and actually still today, the water and energy efficiency has been pursued by using more regional or technology-based approaches. If we want to improve the efficiency from both supply and demand, we have to focus on different approaches. If we still use the usual approaches for dealing with water supply gap, well, we will have maybe an improvement of the water productivity and increasing the supply that may help addressing the new requests, but this won't be enough. Please, next slide. So the instruments, the tools that we can actually use for addressing this problem and improving the current practices come from economy sector. For example, the economic instruments will help defining the true cost of water and energy services, including the respective energy consumption and the water footprint of energy production. Policy instruments will help achieving a more sustainable society by decoupling the economic growth from the exploitation of water and energy, and will promote water and energy efficiency. The assessment tools may help support a more integrated approach to water and energy, so to the water and dealing with it as water and energy nexus. But please, next slide. The fundamental contribution will have the innovative technologies. Another slide, please. We at Idrostudi actually work, as I said, in several of these sectors, but in particular, today I will focus on our contribution in technology development and moreover on innovative approaches for the reduction of water leakages in water supply systems and the way we support the improvement of the efficiency in supply of water. Next slide, please. So the fundamental key to develop a strategy whose aim is to actually reduce the water leakages is to understand, to have a better knowledge of what causes the non-renewable water and all the factors that influence each aspect of this problem. We usually follow a so-called diagnostic approach, following those that are the international guidelines by International Water Association. And this approach is then followed by the implementation of effective and efficient solutions that can be adopted everywhere in the world, obviously customizing the solution according to the specific case of each water supply network. But the first step in this race against a further increase of water consumption is answering to the following questions. How much water is lost? Where is it actually lost and why? What are the strategies that can be introduced to reduce water losses and increase the system performance? And last but not least for importance, how can we maintain this strategy on the long term and the results that can be achieved? Can you please change the slide? Thank you. Thanks. So actually, more than a 100-meter sprinting race, it can be considered as more like a continuous marathon. The start, the very beginning, is an improvement of the knowledge of the system that we have through a dedicated survey, through the analysis of the available data from the from the water supply system managers. The following step is the partitioning of the network in portions. Partitioning means that we divide the whole water supply system in different portions that are so-called district-metered areas that are divided one from the other through the installation in proper locations of closing valves and the positioning of flow meters and pressure measuring devices in order to understand what is actually the trend of time series of flow rate and pressure inside of the DMAs. This allows us to understand on the short term which is the actual water consumption inside the DMA and which DMAs are more prone to be subject to water leakages. The following step is usually performed only on those DMAs that are suspected to have leakages. It's performed by night and allows to actually identify the portions of the network inside of each DMA that may be affected by water leakages. The following step is the identification, the pre-localization through using noise loggers or other image analysis-based procedures to localize the water leakages. Then we go on the field again and we pinpoint the location of water leakages. And after all these activities are performed, we're able to actually understand what are the best activities to be performed to improve this condition of the water supply system and its management. Typically, the procedure that we follow is to propose, after a detailed analysis of the whole system with the support of advanced numerical tools, we propose a scenario of pressure management that allows us to reduce pressures in the whole network, always ensuring the right supply of water to users, and at the same time to reduce water losses, since the amount of water losses is related directly to the entity of the pressure. Moreover, also the main pipe issues are also repaired locally. The procedure starts again because then it's the water managers that have to take care of the whole system in its development, always with our support. Next slide, please. Then now I will introduce just a few case studies that show the application of our approach to 3 different water supply networks. The first case is the Trieste, Italy water supply network. It's a 1,100 kilometers long network that serves about 250,000 users. At the time of the study, the total volume that was input in the system was about 1,600 liters per second. Almost 45% 50% of which were lost because of problems related to the continuity of the pipes. The goal of the study was to decrease the water losses, to improve the general management of the system, decrease the related energy costs, because Trieste is a territory characterized by a very hilly condition, with high variations of height. That means that part of the water has to be pumped to be supplied to the users. And this means that there's a high cost of energy related to pumping. And moreover, we wanted to reduce the need for manual intervention. Please, next slide. Just in the first year of the project, we were able to reduce the amount of water supplied by 3 billion liters. This means that our client, the ACEGAS APS AMGA water supply system manager, was able to save 1 million euros that year. That also with a benefit in terms also of energy saving, that was really important. I think it's really worth noting that this means that we were able to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases emitted thanks to the reduction of the water consumption. Please, next slide. This case study is the application of the methodology for studying the water supply network that serves the users in Malatya, a city located in the east of Turkey. The network is about 1,500 kilometers long and served at the time of the study about 1.5 million users. The network was affected by a lot of water leakages that were estimated to be roughly 50% of the total volume that was supplied to the network. The very first goal of our study was to estimate the water balance and the level of non-revenue waters inside of the network, and define the demand scenarios that was at that moment, and then to draft a master plan. Please, can you please go on with the slides? Our approach wasn't just to provide consultancy and engineering services, but we also supported the team of the water supply system management in order to improve their capacities and their skills in the management of the whole systems and their capabilities in numerical modeling and in the management of the pressures inside of the system. Next slide. The last case study is quite different from the previous, although the approach is quite always the same. We always analyze the network and we improve its management. In this case, the issue was related to the way the system was managed, because nowadays in Catanzaro, a city in the south of Italy, the supply of water is intermittent. Next slide. That means that actually the water is not supplied to user for all 24 hours per day. People have to be equipped with private tanks, and this causes a stress condition for pipes because of the low or variable pressure that also induces issues in terms of water quality because of potential entering of pathogens inside of the network when it's not pressurized. So we wanted to shift to a continuous supply kind of approach that would ensure a continuous supply but also good quality of water. Next slide. Thank you. So the idea is to actually stop this vicious circle that goes from supplying water intermittently, making people have to have private tanks, and then not focusing on the real issues that are the conditions of the network and where the water losses are. Please, slide. So with our approach, as I said, based on partitioning the network, identifying water leakages, managing the pressure of the whole network, thanks with the support of innovative approaches based on based on numerical modeling and artificial intelligence techniques, we were able to actually improve the condition of the water supply network. And in our scenarios, we have foreseen a reduction of the current water leakages by 20%. Next slide, please. And this will lead us to ensuring a continuous supply to the users of Catanzaro. Please, next slide. So I'm coming to my conclusions. We have seen how water and energy efficient use are intrinsically linked. The water conservation actually offers many benefits, such as the energy savings. For example, we saw in the Trieste case study, avoiding to pump a large amount of water that is not needed, to avoid then the greenhouse gas emissions. It allows to delay or eliminate the need to invest in new energy-intensive water supplies. We at Hydrostudi support all the management of water, so the water management utilities, to improve their systems with an advanced methodology that is based on monitoring using advanced metering devices, data science techniques, and numerical modeling in order to achieve the final goal of managing sustainably water all over the world. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Francesca Zanello, for the presentation. Quite obviously, you can see that there is a lot of opportunity again in Zambia, because one of the challenges that municipal councils and other water supply reticulation systems have is that of terrible losses of leakage, and therefore losing a lot of energy, and therefore we're contributing actually to wasting resources. This brings us to the end of the main presentation. I'd like to thank all of you here, and that's the countdown, all of you here and the virtual audience for giving us an extra 30 minutes to still remain with us. Let me invite Ambassador Antonino to come and give us the final remarks. Mr. Majoris.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony. Been a very morning. I would like to close this session of this morning by thanking our speakers, Andrea Marsanich from ENI from Italy, Hassan Sakhelina, here with us, CEO Biocarbon Partners. I would like to share that Minister Zogu was very impressed by your presentations. He underlined this to the press conference that we had just outside. He left for other engagements, but his collaborators are here. So I'd like to tell my friend Hassan that they are here to continue and interact with you. General Minister underlined to the press the role that ENI and Biocarbon Partners are playing in sustainable growth and environmentally friendly economy. I would like to thank also Marco Mattiello from Contarina and Francesca Zanello of Hydrostudi. We just follow your presentations. I'd like to say that as we already underlined, the role of small and medium enterprises is of key importance. And with this regard, I would like to say that our team, and let me really thank Elisa Bandi and Laura Rampato for the great work they did for this workshop, or organize this workshop today. Lisa and Laura came up with the idea to create a digital platform to share all the contacts and the presentations from the companies, both from the Italian side and the contacts also from the Zambian side, on the Zambian side, companies that attended our meeting. I do believe, as I said, that our role as embassy is to allow actors to work together and put the pieces together. So this will not end now. We continue to do so. Please consider us at your disposal to this purpose. So share with us your contact, your ideas. Try our best to facilitate fruitful cooperation. So with this, I'd like to thank all of you, especially all the guests that are here in the premises of the ZIC and also our friends online. Now we will continue with our program. We have a live lunch here in the ZIC, and we will continue later with the part focusing on art and Zambian and Italian artists. So thank you again for everybody, and stay with us.
Allow me to thank you on my personal behalf, Gloria and Natalia. Thank you very much for being a very good audience, and let's enjoy lunch and come back in the afternoon for the rest of the program if you can. Thank you.